Are you confused between what is love and what limerence is? Because if you are, we will be unpacking these two concepts in this video. So, a lot of people actually come to me and tell me stuff like, oh, I'm in love with my limerent object. It feels so intense and so special, and I can't stop thinking about them. It cannot be limerence, it has to be love that I'm feeling. But love and limerence are actually vastly different from each other. Though to a limerent person, their feelings for their limerent object can feel like genuine love. Okay, but love has qualities that are distinct from limerence. Okay, so we will unpack the differences a little bit in this video. But just a caveat before we begin, when I talk about love here, I'm actually talking about healthy love and healthy relationships. Okay, not the dysfunctional, toxic, abusive types that you may have heard about or you yourself, unfortunately, may have experienced. Okay, those will not have the qualities that I will be talking about. So, on to the first difference. Okay, love, to a large extent, is reciprocal. It is grounded in reality because the both of you know each other fairly well, okay, and are at the very least physically, mentally, and emotionally present in each other's lives. Okay, you acknowledge the existence of the other person and you acknowledge the existence of the relationship. Limerence, on the other hand, is 100% one sided. You are the only one living out those fantasies in your head about your limerent object and experiencing intrusive thoughts about them and constantly thinking about them. Your relationship, quotation marks, most likely is make believe and does not exist in reality. Okay, this can be a very hard pill to swallow for many, and I understand that. But your limerent object very likely either does not know you exist, or even if they do, they are not available to be in a relationship with you. Okay, because they could be a celebrity, they could be someone you do not know at all who is not in your life, or the person could actually be attached or married to someone else. Okay, so unavailable in some sense. The second difference is that love is sacrificial. Okay, I know some people may argue with this, and say that, oh, relationships in modern society is very different. But at the heart of it, love involves compromises and sacrifices. Okay, it could be sacrificing your sleep to help your partner get through a difficult time. It could be moving across continents to be with them, or just going through the usual thick and thin present in any romance. Okay, limerence is not the least bit sacrificial. Okay, it is actually entirely selfish and self-centered. Okay, um, because a lot of times when you are the limerent person, um, there is this sense of wanting your limerent object to reciprocate the feelings that you have for them, and you are very laser focused and kind of very narrow minded about this. Okay, so you analyze what your limerent object is actually doing, how they're actually reacting to you. So there's a lot of hyper vigilance about how your limerent object is actually behaving in relation to you. So you are at the center of your entire experience and your entire fantasy. Okay. Um, and it's also the reason why so many limerent people actually experience emotional highs and lows. So when the limerent object is like, exhibiting positive reactions towards them, like maybe your limerent object is smiling at you or he spoke to you, he or she spoke to you. You feel like this, ecstasy, this kind of aesthetical high. But when your limerent object is, not engaging with you in a positive manner, maybe he or she ignored you, maybe he or she didn't talk to you, then your emotions go down. Okay, so your emotions are very, very, it just revolves around, you and your fantasies and your limerent object and how your limerent object responds to you. Okay, so you are the center of everything. um Limerence is also really selfish because for limerent people, their limerent object usually matters more than anyone else in their lives, including themselves. Okay, it is a very obsessive, addictive, and unhealthy quality. Okay, that usually does not produce the results that the limerent person is pining for. So you're thinking so much and obsessing so much about this person, but that person, it's probably not going to end up with you. Okay, so that's the second difference. The third difference is that, as mentioned earlier, When you are in a loving relationship, you are there for the person. Physically, mentally, emotionally, you are available for the person. You make yourself available for your partner. In limerence, though, their romantic state always involves a significant amount of unavailability, okay, both emotionally and physically. Okay. I have a video that talks about the patterns of emotional unavailability and limerence, which I'll link up here. But when I talk about unavailability, I mean like, it could be any form of unavailability. So either your limerent object is living in another country, they aren't in your social circle, they are a complete stranger, maybe someone that you see on the bus or, on your commute to work or to school every day. Or someone that you see, in your working environment, but these are people that are just not into you at all. They may not even know that you exist. So this is why limerence is usually characterized by a complete absence of the limerent object in your life in a way that is real and is grounded. Okay, they only exist in your mind and in your fantasies. That's the difference. And the very last difference that I don't usually see people talk about, but I do want to address is that um, limerence and healthy love, they actually occupy a very different emotional space. Okay. And by what I mean by that, it is, the feelings, the emotional range that you are in, or that you are experiencing when you are limerent versus when you are in love is actually very, very different. Okay. Um, because when you are limerent, okay, and I was a former limerent person. Okay, I've completely healed now, but having been limerent before, it just it's a constant state of anxiety. I constantly felt like I was hyper vigilant. When I was around my limerent object, I felt emotionally like the emotional ups and downs, like very emotionally volatile. Every day is like an emotional roller coaster because um, we get so fixated on how our limerent objects actually behaving towards us, and our moods are so controlled by that. It also can feel very kind of like limiting and closed off in a sense, because you're just so hyper focused on this one person and just hoping to God that it works out, you know, um, which is kind of weird, because your limerent object usually doesn't know you exist or doesn't even like you that way, right? So the emotions that are involved in limerence tend to actually be on the slightly not so pleasant side of things. I don't really believe in positive versus negative emotions. I feel like um, that kind of restricts us, limits us to feeling only positive emotions, but the entire emotional experience, is available to us as a human, in this lifetime. So I think it's a privilege to feel all the feelings, and that's when you actually overcome the emotional unavailability. But sidetracking, getting back on topic, limerence doesn't feel like a great emotional space to be in for too long. um, and usually the conditions, the environmental, psychological, social stuff that is going on in your life when you're experiencing limerence is usually not in the place that you would like it to be. And what do I mean by that? For example, you could actually be limerent for another person whilst you are in a relationship or married. Okay, this is also a topic for discussion in another video. But I experienced that before, and I just felt awful all the time. I was actually very ashamed of myself. I felt guilty, for constantly pining after someone that wasn't my partner. And I, was a constantly anxious person at a time, and wasn't a very, very happy person in general in life. Um, so, which is why a lot of limerent people tend to report, feelings of like social isolation, loneliness, anxiety, and depression. Okay, all these things tend to kind of like occur together and kind of lend itself to limerence. Whereas love, on the other hand, it feels good, There's the usual ups and downs, but generally it feels good. There's care, there's kindness, there's affection, there's trust, there's mutual respect. um and I'm talking about healthy love. Okay, healthy love, you don't control your partner, you don't obsess over them. You don't see husbands and wives, in healthy relationships obsessing over one another. You don't try to possess the person as well. Okay, you want to, real healthy love is about, making that person's life better, supporting your partner's growth. Okay, it's very positive oriented. Okay, and like I said, love has its ups and downs, but it is on a very different emotional vibration scale compared to limerence. It doesn't feel so limiting and so closed off and so negative, you know. So those are the couple of differences that I really wanted to address. And the million-dollar question is, how do you then, go from limerence to love? Because many limerent people, and I would say all limerent people, actually want love and affection in their lives, but you know, the way that they go about getting it is not quite functional, which is why they tend to stay in the limerence space. So how do you go from limerence to love? And the biggest thing that I always talk about here, and which is kind of the source of my entire work, is that you have to start working on getting to know yourself, and working on taking back your own power, and working on your sense of self. Okay, so all my work actually that I do is about the sense of self, returning to yourself, reconnecting with yourself. Because if your sense of self isn't strong, the pillars of your life, your base is going to be very shaky. Okay. And I know one of the challenges that people have is, they don't know where to start. How do I start working on getting to know myself? What am I supposed to do? Okay, just start small. Okay, start small and just start by asking yourself, okay, what can I do for myself today? What is one thing I can do today or right now to make me a little happier? Okay, it could mean getting your favorite drink. Okay, it could mean journaling. It could mean just laying around in bed, watching Netflix. It could be anything, spending time with your dog, your friends, going to explore the cafe that you've always wanted to explore near your house but you haven't gotten the time to. Spending time doing things that you love. Okay, and being around people who love you and people that you enjoy being around. Um because why I actually say to reconnect with yourself in this way is because for limerent people, there's a disconnection with the self. Okay, there's a huge disconnection with the self and the feelings, our emotions. So when you don't connect with yourself, you're not inward oriented, you're very outward oriented. You're always oriented towards your limerent object and what they are thinking about you and where this thing can go to, and things like that. So you're very outward oriented. So by getting to know yourself and taking all these small steps, it's turning the attention from them back to you. It's um, it's making you feel seen, feel important, and being present with your emotions where you are, and meeting your own needs. Making yourself happy because you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved and you deserve happiness. Okay, whether you are limerent or not. And another thing that you can do is to start to think about the meaning and the purpose in your life. Okay, um, just ask yourself, what do you like to do when you were a child? That's always the million-dollar question. What do you like, really enjoy doing as a child? And have you lost touch with that hobby? It could be writing, could be reading, whatever it is, making folding paper planes, making origami, whatever it is. Okay, um, reconnect with that part of yourself, because a lot of us have very wounded inner child. Our inner girl or inner boy wasn't very well taken care of when we were younger for various reasons. So to kind of love yourself and to feel happy again and to kind of really seek out the calling in your life, to seek out the meaning and the purpose. Start to reconnect with what the younger you wanted, and start asking yourself, what gets you in the flow? What can make you sit around for 3 4 hours, 10 hours, an entire day, that you forget your meals. because you're so engrossed in that one thing, what is that thing that can actually make you um reconnect and get back to yourself again. So here's another thing that you can do. A couple of things that you can do already. I've been talking, quite a bit about different things. And another thing about limerence is, you need to think about how you have been talking, thinking, and believing about love, romance, and relationships. Do you believe that love is always out of reach? Do you believe that love has to only be with emotionally unavailable people? Do you think you're worthy of love? Here's something to ask yourself. Okay, and with limerent people, there are very faulty beliefs and faulty wiring when it comes to love and affection. Again, many, many different reasons. I actually expound on it in my book, and you can get it, it's linked in the description below. But, there are many reasons for why we can have very faulty beliefs about love. So it's good to examine why and where these beliefs actually come from and learn to overturn it, to question it. Um, Another big thing that I actually want to say as well is to have, self compassion for yourself when you're trying to, heal from limerence and you're trying to figure out who you are. Don't be too hard on yourself. You've been so hard on yourself for so long already, and, you've been feeling all these, like, not so great emotions for such a long time. Don't do that to yourself. Have self compassion. Try and understand why you got to where you got to today in your limerent journey, what happened, and just start trying to heal. It's not impossible at all. I was limerent for years, okay, years and years and years for different people, and I have completely healed. I am not some special being, I'm just a human like you, so if I can do it, you can do it too. And these are the steps that you can start taking. To start working on getting to know yourself, take all these small steps, ask yourself, what did you like doing when you were a child? Reconnect with that again. Ask yourself right now, what things keep you up at night in a good way, what things get you in the flow, what makes you forget, yourself. Reconnect with that again. Think about your beliefs, about romance, about love, and yeah, have some self-compassion, start loving yourself and start forgiving yourself for, any sort of missteps, that you have made. I don't say mistakes because we all make mistakes, but limerence is not a mistake. It's, more based off, faulty wiring and, attachment issues when we were a child and things like that. And most of the time it's not our fault. Yeah, and once you get, start getting reconnected with yourself, you will heal. And yeah, so do not give up on yourself and always strive for your inner happiness. So with that, yeah, just, some resources that I've linked in the description below, which will hopefully help you. I've written a book on how to break up with limerence and romantic obsession. So I talk a lot about, the different sources of limerence, how it came about, and different strategies that you can also start using to heal from limerence. And you will also hear more about or read more about my healing, my entire limerence journey in the book. And I also have a limerence workshop that I ran recently as well. So it's, about, why, answering these two questions, like why, are certain people attracted to emotionally unavailable men, and can you actually find love if you've always been limerent? Okay, so once again, thank you guys. If you've been listening all the way to the end, thank you so much. I really appreciate your presence and your listening ear. Yeah. And remember to subscribe. If you like this video, forward to someone else who also is experiencing the same thing. And I will see you soon in the next video. Thank you and have a great day.